Good day. This is E.T. here. I'm doing a series of videos on erectile dysfunction from another perspective altogether. This isn't about a cure-all, but that we can get to that eventually. It's about relationships themselves, which are bound to end up this way anyway, because the way the relationship is enacted in the first place. And I think societies, there seems to be a massive rise in sexual dysfunction between couples, because that's what erectile dysfunction very often is a sexual dysfunction. Because the couples are not actually totally in sync to start with, or haven't actually got used to each other in the beginning. And because they haven't got used to each other right from the start before they get into a compound relationship that involves sexual activity, those things that irritate, body odour, certain ways of speaking, all sorts of mannerisms, they will eventually irritate and eventually cause a dissidence, if you like, between the couple, and that dissidence will then cause a emotional reaction, which then results in erectile dysfunction, because men are extremely sensitive to the odours and the chemistry given off by the female. This is a very important factor in understanding erectile dysfunction. Often is sexual dysfunction. If after menopause or at some stage women just go off sex for whatever reason, and they're entitled to do that, well, that becomes a serious problem in the relationship, of course, and because the men suddenly are without a sexual partner. So they can't suddenly go playing off with the other one, because that dissolves and ruins a relationship and maybe destroys a household. It very often happens so often. It's a sort of a natural disaster created by the fashions of the times that is not discussed at all. Sex is discussed, all the different ways of having sex is discussed, but not actually as a biological construct within a relationship, so that we have a better understanding, a wiser understanding how relationships can be developed in the first place, so that these sexual dysfunctions, which result in erectile dysfunction and massive anxiety within the male, and you can see them. You can see the males walking around the street. You know they look rejected. They've got a look of rejection and redundance about them. The problem with erectile dysfunction is this: you have to come to terms with it as a sexual dysfunction first, because what happens in nature is a thing I call a redundancy gene. Right? Once you don't feel you can breed anymore, or you feel you haven't got the sexual potency anymore, unless you're a stoic or a Buddhist or a priest and can come totally to terms with it, without have a life without a sexual partner, then males may well feel redundant, and because of that they'll switch off a regressive action within their chemistry, within their biology, will set off within their metabolism a slowing down of their metabolism, and therefore they will get the situation that causes their erectile dysfunction will get worse and worse, because in nature, once you've passed your potency used by date, unless you're passing on your wisdom to lots of young people, like in nature it ought to be, you're sitting there on the couch each day just watching TV and drinking beer, you're going to die sooner than you normally would if you kept yourself healthy and you had a sexually functioning relationship throughout your life. Now, sexually functioning relationship means many things, but it means also that there's a natural attraction beyond the initial infatuation by the male or female. Beyond that, there's got to be a biological connection. So therefore, it stands to reason, and this is very important, If you don't want to avoid unhappiness in your life, don't act with haste when you're rushing to a relationship. Be very, very careful. You can't always guarantee any outcome, but before rushing into a relationship, make sure you don't mind the other person's body odor or sense or taste of their body when they've got no perfumes on. That's very, very important, because if your body odors are mismatched chemically, then there's a mismatch in the DNA. And the important part about this, that is a chance then, if you have children, of the children being somehow faulty. Because that chemical nature has provided humans in its evolutionary journey with the means to produce strong, healthy children. That's the meaning of life. Producing better children than the previous generation is the meaning of life. But there are many dysfunctional children created because of the mismatched chemical odors, the chemistry between people. And I'm suggesting that society, if it's as serious about arresting some of the accumulating problems within society, that erectile dysfunction is part of it, or sexual, let's call it the sexual dysfunction between couples, because that is what it amounts to in many cases. If a woman is really aroused by you, not just going through the routine, oh, we ought to have sex to keep the marriage going, then you will get an erection. That's natural. Even if you feel a bit blasé, or you will be aroused. And that's, you know, there's many Muslims that marry 4 women because the first one gets tired of them, or second one, third one, they keep getting another younger one, or they're excited about, and maybe under their system of psychology, may be excited about having sex, because of restriction, sexual restriction, may cause sexual excitement in that female. But that's another part of a discussion on sexuality and sexual functioning within society. I'm not going to make these too long. I'm going to try and keep the wind under 10 minutes, because it's a long and complicated subject that needs to be understood from a more philosophical point of view, so we understand the actual biology that creates the chemical makeup within people, and from that have a look at how relationships are formed in the first place, to then determine maybe how society looks upon itself, reflects upon that, what it's doing, because society is rushing into all sorts of things without any rushing into action with no plan, is bound to defeat the purpose of the action in the first place. Sex is for life, one way or other. It's better to avoid relationships that are going to cause sexual dysfunction or erectile dysfunction than get into them, because that erectile dysfunction may be passed then on to, relationship might fail, and then you're stuck with a problem that you don't know how to get out of. You have to go to a therapist or something, because you've jumped into something in the first place that maybe you shouldn't. And this is, men are brain dead once a penis is standing and there's no thoughts attached to it. It just acts. And it's time men put some little bit of thought into what they do with a standing penis, and maybe a little bit of more balance in society can be enacted, and eventually less erectile dysfunction through a natural evolutionary process, rather than the perversion of the system that's been happening over the last 30 years or so because of whatever reasons. Alright, thank you very much. This is E.T. and God bless you all. I hope you all live a happy life.